Hello, my beautiful soul family and all of my beautiful subscribers here on YouTube. And if you are not a subscriber yet of my YouTube channel, I do ask that you go ahead and click that button below and give me a subscribe if you enjoyed this video after this video, or if any point you decide that you want to do it along the way. So today I have been brought a topic that I'm bringing to you based off of some interaction and activity on, guess what? Twitter. So if you are on my Twitter, you may be one of the inspirations of this video. And now what this video is regarding is the topic of the ego. And now the ego gets a really bad rep in our society. And why is it that we feel that the ego gets such a bad rep? Is it because the ego deserves a bad rep? Is it because the ego is here to harm us and it can do no good and it's always doing us injustice to our soul and our spiritual aspects of ourselves? Well, I can say I 100% personally do not believe in killing the ego. I do not believe in hating the ego. I do not believe that we must overcome the ego, but instead, I do feel and believe that we are meant to integrate the ego and accept the ego. So if you are here and you want to kill your ego and you think the ego is evil and it's bad and it's something that shouldn't exist, then sadly, I must say you are in the wrong place, because that is not what this video is about. And nor will I ever tell you that I think that you should kill any aspect of yourself, because to me, that is madness. To think that there is any aspect of ourselves that we came here in this earth onto this earth with, that we need to kill, it just doesn't sound right to me. It's more like I accept who I am, and because of me being who I am, there are parts of me that maybe I will outgrow and I will outshine and I will end up transmuting into a higher version of. But that doesn't mean that I will ever kill any aspects of myself, because I love myself, my whole complete self. And there's nothing of me that I feel will need to be taken out or disintegrated or anything of that nature. So if you, like me, would like to have a topic of interest regarding the ego, then you are in the right place. And I ask that you grab a cup of tea, grab a little snack, do whatever you please, and sit back and enjoy this conversation. And let me know your thoughts after you've watched this video, during this video, or however you so choose. Let me know how you feel about this. What are your thoughts on the ego? Do you feel the ego is here to harm us, hinder us, or do you believe that it is something that we can actually become empowered from, and something that we can actually work with that will benefit us in our highest selves, on a spiritual level and on a physical plane level, since we are here living as human beings here on earth, not in our spiritual bodies, but in our physical bodies, because that is a part of life and that is a part of accepting us being human here. So let's get started. Firstly, why is it so popular to hear people say we must kill the ego? Like they have stakes and knives and like pitchforks and things. Like we have to just go after it and we have to kill it. It's like, why? Why are we so disconnected from ourselves that we see an aspect of ourselves, the representation of ourselves, the literal physical human embodiment representation here that is meant to protect our soul? Why do we feel that something of that nature must be destroyed? What will we be without the ego? Let's take a look. What would life look like if we had no ego? Let's give an example. Imagine a life. Imagine a life that you have no name. You have no representation of yourself. You have no energetic going of yourself. You have no ambition. You have no objective. You have no perspectives. You have no persona. Because guess what you are? You are a soul. And you are egoless. And the only mission that you have here on this earth, if you can even accomplish the task of coming to this earth, is literally being a state of being, an energy, a non-physical form of yourself that has no identification as self, of the oneness, of the all, of the greater God. Now, do keep in mind when I say this, I don't mean to belittle you and act as if because you are a physical embodiment of your soul here on earth, that you are not of God's nature, that you are not of a spiritual embodiment of yourself. I am simply pointing out the fact that you are in a human body, being human here, and you came for a life experience. That life experience entails us having a persona, entails us having a personality and a personal view of perspectives and things that matter to us and each of us that we stand for. Even if it's something that we can stand down on, it doesn't mean that we don't still stand for it. And that's where a lot of people seem to misconstrue the information and the thought of the ego. People seem to think that the ego is something separate from us, something outside of ourselves, and not actually an idealization of the representation of our soul's origination here on earth. So whenever we're able to actually see, okay, so I do have an ego, and this ego is my energetic going here on earth as the physical form of the matter I am and that I have become here by being here. Then how do we actually identify with the ego and instead of being against the ego? And now this is kind of simple and it may seem silly, but it's something as simple as looking in the mirror, seeing that you are the embodiment of yourself. You are no one else. You are literally you. No one can be you. Yes, you are of God's nature. You are of the oneness, but you are still in one perspective of the aspect of the all that is you. So whenever we can come to the realization and the determination that we are human, being here for a life experience, then we can also see the benefit of having said ego, or we can even say persona. Ego and persona is no different because all it is the personal nature of your creation, of the being of human that you have formed. An ego, an energetic going. Something so simple, yet so often misconstrued. So now I ask you, are you able to sit with yourself and see yourself and actually notice that you are worth being present here and you are worth having a persona? That you are not living here as a bodiless being only of soul matter, of no actual physical matter and form, but instead you are a physical form of your soul. And your soul is a part of you that is you. And the representation is only a protection. It's like an egg can't be an egg without a shell around it to be able to exist in this world. The egg must first have a shell, and then the shell can be cracked. Yes, just like you can crack your ego. You can have so many breakdowns mentally or so many challenges in your life that you transform and you heal and you realize that the ego that you have is not something that you've held on to your whole life through beliefs, but instead it can transform into something much greater because you can see the greatness of you as you crack yourself and you spread yourself open to be able to see the different aspects of you. But the one thing we cannot do is kill the ego. In order to kill the ego, we would kill ourselves. Now, is that something you want to do? I didn't think so. We're not here to talk about that, but we are here to talk about the fact that the ego is not an evil entity. It is not an evil being. And when we see it as an evil thing, all we are doing is disconnecting ourselves from the human nature of our ability to thrive and be present in this world as our physical embodiments that we are in formation to be. So I ask you this question. Can you sit with yourself, face yourself, and accept the fact that you have an ego? Can you accept that you can be a spiritual embodiment of soul essence and be aware of that ego's presence and work with that ego, putting the persona of your energy field out through that ego instead of always feeling as if that ego is something that is against you? Or do you feel that it will always be against you? Do you feel that it's unnatural to be able to have an energetic going of yourself? Do you feel like it's unnatural to be in this physical form living here as a human being? Do you feel that it is wrong to have a personality, to have traits and characteristics and points of views and aspects that maybe fit you and not everyone else? Do you feel that you are so oneness that you are not of a physical form here? And if so, let me know how that's going for you. Because the thing is, if you are here, if you're watching this video, even if you're not watching this video, if you are here living a human experience, by nature of default, you are going to have an ego. The ego is not bad. The ego is merely a tool. Whenever we weaponize it, we create a resistance against it. And it also creates a resistance against others because we use that as something to be able to hurt other people or even hurt ourselves. But when we actually see it for its worth and realize that the ego is nothing more than a representation of our origination, like I mentioned before, then, only then, can we integrate the energy, work with the energy, not try to overcome the energy necessarily. In some situations, yes, you will overcome aspects like I mentioned again before about yourself because you may see something that you once believed and now you don't believe it because you see a different side of yourself. And that is beautiful growth. But it's never about transforming against it, but instead informing the ego of the representation in which you want to have here presently on earth. And whenever you're able to do that, you're able to set with yourself, communicate with yourself, and give yourself the idealism of what you actually want out of this life experience. Instead of resisting, persist. Persistence is overcoming the resistance. There is no need to fear the ego. There is no need to kill the ego. All the ego has ever asked of you is to be acknowledged, accepted, and understood. A lot of times we build up walls in our lives because of things that happen to us, past traumas and experiences that make us feel a little bit uneasy and uncomfortable. And those are states of a weakened ego, yes, because of life throwing things at us that made us feel as if we had to be more protective. But realizing that we don't have to live like that, but instead we can grow from these things and understand what went wrong in the past does not have to repeat itself. And giving the ego an idealism and an idyllic view of itself to become itself as the representation that you want to be versus the reality in which you have been in the past. So when it really comes down to it, there's no complexities to the ego. There's nothing we must sit and meditate on for hours and weeks and months and years of our lives. There's nothing that we must kill. There's nothing that we must overcome or transcend in that sense. But instead, simply accepting what you want your egoic representation to represent for you, instead of trying to push it out of your energy as if it is not a part of you. Your ego will always be a part of you. Even in astrology, the ego is your sun. What is your sun? My sun's Aquarius. Some people have a sun of Leo. Leo is a sign of ego, supposedly, right? That doesn't make them egotistical people. It just makes them shedding light on themselves. Because if you shed light on yourself, you're able to see the reflection of what is looking back at you and who is looking back at you and what and how others perceive you and you perceive yourself. So speak with the ego and seek the ego and realize that there is nothing to fear of the ego other than fear itself. The only thing that we should fear in this life of our ego is the separation of our ego and the idea of needing to destroy said ego or do something to separate it from ourselves, because there's nothing to separate. You can't take a part of you and separate it. It is a part of you. You are a part of it. And maybe one day, whenever you're no longer here on earth, that ego won't exist because you'll no longer be you. I'll no longer be Tara. You'll no longer be whoever you are that's watching this video. But the thing is, You are that person now, and I am Tara now. And even by me identifying myself with the name, my actual name, Tara, even terrestrial aura, that is a representation of expression through ego. Now, is that a bad thing that I give myself my own separate identity of myself versus other people because I don't have to be other people to live as myself, and I can understand that I am one person here embodying the oneness of myself by integrating and connecting with my ego and realizing that everyone outside of me is going to have different points of views and different egos as well? That is not a bad thing. That is actually super healthy. And so many people act as if we have to just live in this state of one, which I believe that we should live in a state of oneness with ourselves and with others. But at the same time, we can't take on other people's personas. It is not our job. It isn't our life task. And it is not why we came here as an individual self. In a world where we are all connected and we have no bodies, but we are everybody, and we are a blade of grass, and we are the sun, and we are the moon, and we are the air, which we are all of these things. But in the physical form of our presence here, the acknowledgement that we have is of ourselves. Therefore, we have to participate in this life as ourselves. So you can hate this message, or you can love this message, or you can challenge my message. I ask that you share any of your thoughts, whether it be any of those natures, because the thing is, we all see things differently. And I'm not here to preach to you to make you believe what I believe. I am simply sharing the belief in which I have experienced and understood through the essence and energy of my own field, through the experience of being human here. So I thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed this video, I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. And if you have not enjoyed this video, tell me why. Tell me why you're stirred up or bothered by this video, because I want to know. I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's the thing, because whenever we have our egos, such as we do, we hold on to beliefs and we hold on to views and we see things because we have an energetic going state. And whichever way that our energy is going is the way that we will see and the way that we will perceive. So are you able to put your guards down and let your ego live and just be? Or do you still feel that separation is the key? Let me know in the comments. All right, guys. Thank you as always for watching. And I hope you enjoyed this video. So I'll talk to you soon. Until we meet again.